What if I told you that kindness, honesty, and loyalty often mean nothing in the real world, unless you understand how people truly work? We grow up believing that if we're good to others, they'll be good to us. That truthfulness always wins. That loyalty will be rewarded. But Machiavelli, one of history's most misunderstood thinkers, would laugh at that, because he knew something that most people still refuse to see. Human behavior is not guided by morality, it's guided by self-interest. And once you understand that, you stop being shocked by betrayal. You stop being controlled by fake smiles, and you start to see people and the world for what they really are. Machiavelli was hated for saying this, but only because he told the truth. This isn't about becoming manipulative. It's about seeing reality as it is, not as you wish it to be. By the end of this video, you'll understand human behavior through a completely new lens, one that will forever change how you deal with people. Because once you see the truth, you can never unsee it. To understand this dark truth, we have to step back in time, to Renaissance Italy, a place of power struggles, deception, and survival, where kings, popes, and generals played constant games of betrayal, and where one man decided to study human behavior not as it should be, but as it really is. That man was Niccolò Machiavelli. He wasn't a philosopher in an ivory tower. He was a political advisor, a diplomat, someone who watched power in motion every single day. He saw how men smiled while plotting each other's downfall, how alliances broke overnight, and how the honest were crushed by the cunning. And from all of it, he wrote a small, dangerous book, The Prince, a book that changed history and terrified the world. Because it didn't preach morality, it revealed the mechanics of human behavior. It said out loud what everyone secretly knew, but was too afraid to admit, that people are driven not by virtue, but by necessity, fear, and gain. Now fast forward to today, and tell me, has anything really changed? Look at social media, politics, even your office. People still wear masks. They flatter when they need you. They vanish when they don't. And the same principles that ruled 1500s Italy still rule our modern lives, just hidden behind filters, brands, and polite smiles. What Machiavelli saw in Renaissance courts, we now see on Instagram, in relationships, and even among friends. And that brings us to a question most people don't dare to ask. If people are not who they seem, then what truly drives them? Let's find out. Here's the part that most people never want to face. Human beings are not as noble as they pretend to be. Machiavelli observed this centuries ago. He wrote, "Men are ungrateful, fickle, false, cowardly, and covetous." Harsh words, right? But he didn't mean it as an insult, he meant it as a diagnosis. He saw that when times are good, people seem kind, loyal, and fair. But when pressure hits, when their comfort, pride, or power is threatened, their mask falls. The same person who praised you yesterday will betray you tomorrow if it serves their interest. And here's where most of our emotional pain comes from. We idealize people. We expect fairness, honesty, and gratitude. And when reality doesn't match that, we feel betrayed. We say things like, "I never thought they could do this to me." But Machiavelli would say, "You should have." Because people don't act based on what's right. They act based on what's useful. It's uncomfortable, yes, but think about your own life. How many times have you helped someone only for them to disappear when you needed them? How many times has loyalty been met with indifference? It sounds cynical, until you realize it explains almost every betrayal you've ever experienced. Machiavelli's brilliance was that he didn't hate humanity. He simply accepted its reality. And the moment you do that, the world starts to make sense. But if people act from self-interest, what does that really mean for us? Does it mean we should stop being good or start being smarter? That's where Machiavelli's dark truth truly begins. Here's what most people misunderstand about Machiavelli. They think he was promoting evil, teaching people to lie, cheat, and manipulate. But that's not what he was doing. He wasn't saying, "Be cruel." He was saying, "See clearly." Because the real danger isn't the darkness in others. It's our blindness to it. Machiavelli believed that a person who tries to live purely by moral ideals, without understanding the hidden motives of others, becomes a victim of their own goodness. A good leader who trusts too easily gets overthrown. A kind person who believes everyone is honest gets betrayed. And a loyal heart without awareness becomes a target. He saw morality as something beautiful, but insufficient. Because the world doesn't reward purity, it rewards clarity. Think about it. A lion has strength, a fox has cunning. Machiavelli said a wise person must have both, the strength to act and the awareness to protect themselves from deception. In modern psychology, this mirrors what we call realistic awareness. Humans are wired for self-preservation. Even our kindness often hides a subconscious motive, the desire for acceptance, validation, or peace. That doesn't make us evil. It makes us human. But when we deny that truth, when we pretend people are purely good, we walk blindly into manipulation. Machiavelli's message was brutal, but liberating. You don't have to lose your kindness, but you must stop being blind, because awareness is the highest form of protection. He wasn't teaching cruelty. He was teaching clarity, the kind that protects your peace and your power. And the more you see the world through that lens, the more you realize how few people actually understand it. So, how do we use this insight today, in our relationships, careers, and daily lives, without losing our humanity? That's where the Machiavellian mindset becomes a powerful form of modern wisdom. Let's bring Machiavelli's insight into our world, a world of office politics, online manipulation, and emotional games. Because the truth is, you face the same power dynamics Machiavelli wrote about, just wrapped in modern packaging. Today, it's not kings and princes. It's bosses, influencers, and even people in your friend group. Everyone, in some way, is playing a game of perception, advantage, and survival. But here's the difference between those who rise and those who get crushed. The wise ones see the game, but don't lose themselves in it. Machiavelli's mindset, when applied ethically, isn't about deceit. It's about discernment. It's about recognizing when someone is using you, when someone's flattery hides self-interest, when your loyalty is being taken for granted. It's emotional intelligence sharpened by realism. You don't need to manipulate anyone. You just need to stop being blind. For example, in the workplace, the person who quietly observes, understands motives, and knows when to speak or stay silent often gets further than the one who simply works hard and hopes to be noticed. Because success isn't only about effort, it's about strategy. In relationships, being aware doesn't mean being cold. It means knowing the difference between genuine affection and emotional dependency, between love and control. And in friendships, it means giving, but not giving yourself away. Practicing what I call strategic kindness, being generous, but with boundaries. Machiavelli would say, the world belongs to those who see it clearly. And that's the key. You don't have to play dirty, but you do have to stop playing blind. Pause, slightly softer tone. Because awareness doesn't make you manipulative. It makes you free. But still, most people resist this truth. They hear Machiavelli's name and instantly reject him. Why? Because facing the darker side of human nature challenges everything we want to believe about ourselves. And that brings us to the next part, the psychological reason why most people can't handle Machiavelli's truth. Let's be honest. Most people don't want to believe Machiavelli was right. Because if he was right, then the world isn't as fair, kind, or idealistic as we wish it were. It means we can be betrayed by people we love. It means good intentions don't always win, and that terrifies us. So what do? We create illusions, comforting stories about how things should be. We tell ourselves that honesty always pays, that kindness always returns, that people are good deep down. And sometimes they are, but not always. Machiavelli stripped away those illusions, and our minds resist that, because illusions protect our emotional comfort. Psychologists call this cognitive dissonance, the discomfort we feel when reality clashes with our beliefs. It's like when you realize a friend you trusted was only around for their benefit, your mind tries to deny it at first, because accepting it hurts your self-image and sense of control. But here's the paradox. The more you resist uncomfortable truths, the more those truths quietly control you, because you can't defend yourself from what you refuse to see. Machiavelli's lesson is not to become cynical, but to become conscious. He wanted you to replace naivete with awareness. The moment you accept that not everyone acts with good intentions, you don't become paranoid. You become free. Free to see people as they are, not as you wish them to be. Free to make choices based on truth, not delusion. It's like taking off a pair of rose-colored glasses. The world looks harsher, yes, but it's also clearer. And in clarity, there's power. Pause, reflective tone. So maybe the real question isn't, is Machiavelli too dark? Maybe it's, am I brave enough to see what he saw? Because once you do, you'll never see human behavior the same way again. When you finally accept the darker truths Machiavelli talked about, something profound happens. You stop being reactive. You stop being surprised when people disappoint you. You stop being easily controlled by guilt, flattery, or fear. You start to see patterns and emotional, social, psychological that once manipulated you without your awareness. You begin to understand the why behind people's actions, and even your own. That's when awareness becomes power, because you can't control others, but you can control your response. You can choose when to engage and when to walk away, when to be silent and when to assert yourself, when to forgive, and when to finally close the door. That is true power, not domination, but discernment. Machiavelli wrote for rulers, but his wisdom applies to anyone trying to rule their own life. To be Machiavellian, in its highest sense, is not to deceive others, but to understand them deeply enough that you can no longer be deceived. Think of it like emotional martial arts. You don't strike first, but you see every move coming. You know when someone's playing games, when they're pretending weakness, when they're fishing for validation. And instead of reacting and you smile, you see it, you stay centered, you choose your move with intention. That's the transformation Machiavelli's ideas can bring. From emotional naivete, to awareness, to wisdom, to calm strength. You stop wishing the world was kinder and start becoming smarter within it. Because understanding human behavior doesn't make you cold, it makes you unshakable. You see, when you finally understand how people work, you no longer hate them for their flaws. You just understand. And that understanding frees you from resentment. It's like moving from darkness into light, not because the world changed, but because you finally see it clearly. Here's the bottom line. Machiavelli didn't ask you to stop being good. He asked you to start being wise. Being kind isn't weakness, it's a choice. Being compassionate isn't naive, it's deliberate. But being blind to human nature, that's the real danger. The modern Machiavellian mindset is simple. 1. See clearly, observe motives without judgment. 2. Protect your peace. Kindness without awareness makes you vulnerable. 3. Act intentionally. Make choices based on reality, not illusions. 4. Balance strength and empathy. Be firm but not cruel, aware but not cold. When you live this way, you navigate relationships, careers, and challenges with calm confidence. You're no longer shocked by betrayal, frustrated by selfishness, or exhausted by manipulation. Instead, you're empowered by understanding. Remember, the world doesn't reward purity, it rewards clarity. And clarity isn't cynical, it's freedom, it's inner strength. It's the ability to act with wisdom in a world that often rewards the unwise. Machiavelli's dark truth about human behavior isn't a lesson in mistrust. It's a lesson in seeing reality without illusions and living without fear. The world doesn't reward purity, it rewards clarity. Ask yourself, who are you when people's masks fall off? When the flattery stops, when the loyalty fades, when the truth of human behavior finally hits you? How do you respond? Do you react out of pain, disappointment, or anger? Or do you respond with awareness, calm, and intention? That's the real power Machiavelli was teaching. Not cruelty, not manipulation, not cynicism, but clarity, discernment, and inner strength. If this video changed how you see people, even just a little, share it. Because awareness is power, and the more we understand human behavior, the stronger and freer we become. Remember, seeing clearly doesn't make the world less human. It makes you more human, wiser, stronger, and unshakable.